y'all, what's up? It's those wrestling girls. It's your girl, Krista B.
And Queen PR.
And we are here to let you know to tune into Old Face Wrestling because they're one of the best podcasts out. And we follow them, so you should too. So subscribe, hit that button, and listen for the latest in wrestling news. Later.
Hey, this is Sofia Lopez from Women of Wrestling, and you are watching Old Face Wrestling.
That's right. Oh, Face Wrestling. Listen to the podcast. Listen. They are Dark Side approved. Outlet approves it. Oh, Face Wrestling. I'll be listening. Will you?
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on O Face Wrestling. This is your host JT, and today I am joined by three-time and current Maryland Championship Wrestling Women's Champion Gia Scott. How are you doing today, Gia?
I am doing good. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Oh, no problem.
So Gia, just I do have to congratulate you for winning the women's championship for the third time this Friday. So tell me a little bit about that match.
Well, even before, just to start, I was entirely nervous because I'm always nervous before a wrestling match, but this upped it up a little bit more, and especially if it's for the championship, I get a little more butterflies in my stomach than I normally do, and I'm just like, all right, okay, this is it, this is go time, let's go big or go home. And I definitely went big that night, and it made me feel happy that I won it Friday against Renee Michelle. It just made it so sweet, and also that the fact that in the beginning of the year I entered in as champion, and at the end of this year I'm leaving as champion, so I feel pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You get the exit as you entered, basically. So that's really good. So tell me a little bit about wrestling on the independent circuit. So I know that it's a little bit different than your mainstream WWE. It's you have a lot of the same fans that come every week and all that. So tell me a little bit about your experience wrestling for MCW.
So wrestling on the independents, it's different because I normally wrestle a lot for MCW, and there'll be times where I'll branch out and I'll go to other places like DCW. I've went to Angel Gate before. I've went to WDWA before, and numerous other promotions that I cannot remember off the top of my head. And one thing I've noticed is that sometimes the locker rooms are a little different, or there'll be a whole bunch of male wrestlers because there's not a bunch of female wrestlers in the wrestling industry, which I understand because not all women want to or can do it, and it's not for everyone. But it's a little different because certain things you'll see in the locker room that are, I guess, in a way different from others. Without going into too much details or stepping on anybody's toes to a certain degree, but it is kind of different in a way.
Gotcha. Does it feel kind of like a family there, MCW? Do you all have kind of a nice little bond going on?
Yeah, there's definitely a bond that goes on within MCW. I've gotten close to a lot of the guys and female wrestlers for when I first started. It's different when you first start because I guess you could say it's a little harder for you to, in a way, to connect with the guys because not a lot of people stay around. And at first I didn't believe any of the older guys that did stuck around or was there longer, like Ken Dixon, Joe Keys, Rob Locke, Dante. Oh my God, he's gonna probably hate me if I say his name wrong, but I'm just gonna say Dante. And Malcolm Moses and Bishop Khan. They're the guys that stayed around longer, and they would see guys that would come for a couple of weeks and then poof, they're gone. And so in a way, when I stuck around, I was able to grow a bond with them because honestly, those guys thought I would quit within maybe like a couple of weeks. And I looked at them and I was like, me quitting? What? No, why would I quit? And they were just like, girls don't last long. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm staying. You guys are not getting rid of me that easily. Like, I'm staying here. So I was able to build a bond with them. And I love like even though Malcolm looks very scary, he's really not that scary to me because like we have like this bond and whatnot, because like I get to see him and like I just bond with him instantly. And there's other people that MCW that I bond with. Like I've honestly made a home there for being there for 2 going on 3 years now. And it's just like a continuous bond that continues to grow and whatnot at MCW.
Gotcha. So do you feel like you mentioned that they said that like a lot of women don't last long? Do you think do you think women get like a different kind of treatment in like a negative way, or just kind of how like people look at women?
So what I mean by that, or what they mean by that, like I guess you could say we do get a little bit different treatment because I didn't notice it because I am oblivious to certain stuff. It's in my nature. I didn't know that's how the guys felt towards like the girls that were coming and going. And I was able to witness it like firsthand because when we had maybe like 3 girls that signed up throughout this whole entire 2018 year. And all 3 of them left. Or actually, we've actually let me rephrase that. From the 2 years I've been at MCW, we've had probably like 5 or 6 girls that have came through the MCW school. And one of them is Aria Palmer. And the other 4, maybe 5, they quit. And I don't know why. There might be one more person I'm forgetting, but they quit or they moved away or they had college, they had school, something of that nature. And some of them came for maybe like a couple of weeks, maybe a few months, and then bam, they're gone. And I understand what the guys meant by that, because like you think like, oh, there's another girl here, like cool, yeah, like we have another girl, and I'm all about like growing the women's division and helping it and making sure like it prospers into like something beautiful. But then like a girl leaves and I'm like, man, I really wanted another girl. Like I wanted a new girl. So I understand what they mean by like not like the girls ended up coming and going, because I really want there to be like more girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of more girls, what are some girls that you would like to come through MCW that you would like to have a match against?
Oh boy. Are we talking about like indie wise or like WWE Impact wise?
It could be
Anybody?
either or, honestly.
Okay, so the people I honestly would love to see to come to MCW. This is like a long shot shooting. I have like a couple on my mind right now, and this is gonna be out of order because this is just people that I've wanted to face that come to MCW. I've always wanted Kimberly to come back because she was MCW Women's Champ before. I did want Renee Michelle to come back, but she did come back and I got to face her. So that's crossed off. I wanted Mandy Leon to come back and face off against her. I want Amber Rodriguez to come back and I wanted to face her. This is a long shot. These 2 are long shots here. I want Tessa Blanchard and Bianca Belair to come to MCW. But that's like a long shot. And I see you wearing the Bianca Belair shirt and I love her to death. That's like a long shot. But if we ever got the chance to where we got one of them, that'd be a done deal for me. I'd be on cloud 9. There's like so many like other women I would just want to like come to MCW and just face off against. Like the more the better, the newer the better. Like I even wanted to face off against Scarlett Bordeaux.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a long shot too, since I think she's in NXT now. I think. I'm not entirely sure, but that's a long shot.
So too. Yeah, I think I did hear that. But I mean, it's nothing wrong with having the long shots because you never really know when someone may, come back or, expand, leave a company and go and do different things. You never know. So I mean, it could definitely happen. me personally, I would definitely be excited to see you have a match with Amber Rodriguez, the former MCW champion. I think that would be a dope match.
Oh, also one more person. I really, really want her to come back. I want Mickie James to come back.
I'm glad you said that because she used to be the MCW Women's Champion, and
Yes.
I mean, she's not wrestling right now.
So I'm just like waiting, peeking, waiting for something to maybe drop from MCW saying Mickie James returning to action. And I'm just like, yeah, sweet. I want Mickie James to come back.
I would love that too. I think that would be a fantastic match, and that's definitely a possibility because, like I just mentioned, she's wrestled there before. I can see her being the special attraction and doing, a match that they're down the road sometime. So yeah, I know I kind of skipped forward, with a few questions, but let's go backwards now. So what got you into wrestling?
Oh, so there's two reasons of two things that got me into wrestling. One being my uncle when I was maybe 3 to 5. I remember my uncle always watching wrestling. He always watched it like religiously. And there was just one day I came down the steps and I saw that he was like watching something, and I was just like, oh, I'll just watch it with him. And then figuring out it was actually wrestling, and I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. So me and my uncle would just watch it all the time together and whatnot. Like we always watch every single like Monday Night Raw together, or try to at least. Like we will always watch it together. And how I got into wrestling is a couple of ways. So when I was, I think like 16 or 17, maybe 15, I for some odd reason had like a midlife crisis. I thought like I'm not doing anything with my life. I'm not happy at the moment. And I'm like in high school. I'm probably like a sophomore, maybe freshman, junior, one of those. And I'm just like, Mom, I'm not happy. I want to do something with my life. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to do modeling or become a wrestler. And she's like, okay, so let's try modeling. So I did modeling, and it didn't work out. It wasn't what I expected it to be. And it was like really expensive, which is coming funny because wrestling is expensive too. Now that I'm figuring that out. So I told my mom, we were sitting in the car, and I think it was like the last day of like modeling or something like that. And I said, Mom, I'm not into this modeling stuff. It's not what I thought it was. And she said the same thing too. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stick with wrestling. So if I jump back a little bit, back in, I think 2014, my uncle, or maybe 2015, either way, my uncle took me to 2 wrestling events. One of them being December in 2014. I know it was the end of the year, and it was to DC, and this is when Seth Rollins was being a heel, and he was with the Authority. And I remember going to that show, and it was amazing. Like I loved it. Like it was my first time being like in front of like the ring and hearing the sounds. Like it sounds so awesome. And I was just like, man, this is it. Like I want to get in the ring and just do something. Like I don't care what anything. I want to do something. So doing that, I thought like, okay, maybe I want to be a wrestler. Maybe I can do this. And so my uncle took me to an MCW show, and I forgot what date or year it was. It's actually on the school's wall. I'm pretty sure you've seen it maybe in Joppa, the banners all over the place. Yes. On the wall. Okay. So on the wall, further to the left, where you'll probably see like the Ric Flair banner, there's this banner that says the Inferno Room, and it says Booker T's coming. And that's the event that I went to, and I saw Booker T. And my uncle, he was calling me, he's like, hey, you want to go to this wrestling show? I'm like, oh, is it WWE? He's like, no. And I got instantly sad, and I'm just like, okay, where are we going? And he said, it's a wrestling show. It might have been in Dundalk. I'm not sure, but it was called the Green Room. I know that for sure. And he was like, we're going to go here. We're going to watch this. And I was like, okay. And then he said, Booker T's going to be there. I was like, all right, I'm in. That's it. I'm in. So We get there. I take a picture with Booker T. Unfortunately, I do not have that picture anymore, but I took it with him. And I was nervous because I remember in the photo, my hands were all tied together. Like I was just fiddling with my hands because I was so nervous. And I got to talk with him a little bit, and he said like I had a nice, pretty smile and everything because I was like really nervous and whatnot. So I did that, took the photo, and I remember meeting all these well, not meeting them, but like seeing them wrestle. And the awesome thing about that event is my uncle had front row seats. And I was sitting front row, and the ring sounds so loud, the music was loud, and I was just like, oh my God, this is awesome. And okay, maybe I really do want to be a wrestler. So I think at the time they were advertising for their school, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna sign up. I'm gonna be a wrestler. This is it. Like I'm gonna do it. But I don't think I looked at the website at the moment, so I didn't think about it until I got home. So fast forward to when my uncle we finished our WWE live event in DC. I remember that I was talking to my mom, and I was like, okay, let's try this wrestling thing. And so I started looking up multiple schools and whatnot. And I think I might have been 16 then. And I was looking up schools like in Maryland and PA and Delaware. And majority of them either didn't contact me back, or they said like you have to be like 17 or 18 older, or you have to have your parents' consent, or they were just too far away. So then I ended up coming across the MCW school. Then I remember that my uncle took me to one of their events. I was like, oh yeah, their show was really freaking cool. Like, why not? So I get on their page, and it says that you have to, if you're like 18 or older, you can sign up and whatnot. If you're like 16 or 17, you need parents' consent. And I was like, Ma, if I could do this, would you sign off for me? She was like, yeah, why not? And so I was like, all right, cool. So I get down all the way to the bottom, and it says like, all right, to sign up, you have to pay money. And I'm like, okay. And then it says that I know the championship deal was like $3,000. And I'm like, $3,000? Like, what? Yeah, I was like heartbroken. Like, you're telling a 16-year-old kid they need $3,000. Like, to me, that's like me being rich. Like, I was just like, okay, I gotta find a job. I gotta get a job. So that was the plan when I was 16. So when I turned 18, my mother unfortunately passed away. And the money that I got from her, I used that towards getting into wrestling. So that was a lot to explain, but at the end of the day, my uncle and my mom got me into wrestling. I know that was a lot to explain. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, that's perfectly fine. I mean, yeah, that's usually like how it happens. Like I've heard so many stories where, kid goes to an event, they like it, they love the atmosphere, and like this is what I want to do. But the unfortunate thing is a lot of these kids, they don't get the opportunities, or they don't realize how hard it is. Because
Yeah.
I've listened to so many different podcast episodes of wrestlers and their journey to becoming a wrestler, and it just sounds like it's harder than becoming like a football player and all that, because like you're
Oh yeah.
boring, making $15 a night at a match, and just like all the bumps and all that. I definitely want to hear about that. Like, tell me about like the bumps. How hard was that when you first got into wrestling, like transition?
Oh my God. So I will never forget this. When I signed up, it was in April, and I think it was like April 4th, 2017. And I remember, training for a couple of days. And the weird thing with my body is that if I go through like a hard training day, I won't feel it that day. I'll feel it the day after and the day after, and it keeps progressing afterwards. Like I won't feel it in the same day. So during that time, I think I was finishing up my junior year of high school, and I had to take a test. It was a SAT test. And I remember that I trained on Tuesday and I had to take the test on Wednesday. I was so sore from bumping that I could not like turn around fully. I couldn't like turn my head and look around. I had to like move my body with my head because that's how sore I was. I almost did not get out of bed to go take that test, but my teacher said that like it was super important and everyone had to take it. So I went and took it, but afterwards I was so sore. Like I couldn't move. Like it's just that like when you jump from like being like a normal person into being a wrestler, like your body has to adapt to that. So your body is sore all the time. And I felt like I was sore, exhausted, but it was worth it. I never thought in my head like, oh my gosh, like I can't do this. Like this isn't for me. Like this isn't it. Like I felt like this is worth it. This is going to help me in a way. And it wasn't the fact that I was out of shape, because I really wasn't. I, for some odd reason, got gifted in my family. So I was able to have some kind of athletic built-ish kind of body. So I was able to withstand some of the physical torture. But it's just, I never got to the point where I was thinking like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't want to do this. Like every time we had an MCW show, I always thought like that could be me in the ring one day. Just don't give up. That can be you one day. That can be you. Just don't give up. And that was my stride going forward. And my second stride going forward was just like, one day you will hold that women's championship and you'll think back to this of when you were a student, and you're just going to be like, wow, I came this far from being this to that. So those were my reasons for like not giving up, and the training and whatnot. It was excruciating. It was awful, but it was so worth it.
Exactly. Like that's just proof. Like when you're so determined and motivated to do, something, you can do it. Like a lot of people just don't, realize that, sometimes you're gonna have to go through the grind and go through some pain.
Yeah.
It's not easy, like I was a kid and I wanted to be a baseball player. Guess what? I gave up because I, constantly was told, oh, how the chances are what you got to go through. And like, I wish that I would have stuck, with it. So it's definitely.
You don't know how many times, I'm sorry to cut you off. You don't know how many times like people say like, wrestling's fake, right? Like, that it's going to be harder for you to, get into it because you're a woman and that it's a male sport. And I'm like, okay, one, about the fake wrestling, no, because I bumped my butt off and it hurts and I come home so sore. So excuse you. And also another thing, screw you for saying that I can't do it because I'm a woman. Like, really? Like that makes me even want to go even further than what you're saying. Like, oh, look at me, I'm a woman, but look what I'm doing now. Now, do you believe I can't do it? Like, I've had so many people say that to me. And it's funny because, oh, speaking of another thing, when I was at work one day, I told multiple teachers when I was in high school that I wanted to be a wrestler, and they found that very interesting. And some of them asked, like, why did you want to do that? And I told them the reason why and whatnot, because I thought it was cool, and my uncle got me into it, and I thought, like, why not? It was one of the two things I wanted to do in my life. I never wanted to lead an ordinary life. I never wanted to, do a 9 to 5, come home and repeat all over again. I felt like I was meant to do something else in life, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So one day when I was working, I got a Facebook message and I didn't know who it was at first. And it said Hornberger. And that was my English teacher's last name. And I'm like, Hornberger. And I'm like, wait, my English teacher? And this is when I was in 9th grade. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. Like, I remember when you were in my class saying that you wanted to be a wrestler, and I just saw your face on an advertisement. And I think it might have been the Shattered Dreams one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, my teacher recognized me. She remembers me. I was like, oh, that makes me feel good. Like, she remembered that, I wanted to be a wrestler, and she's seeing that I am being a wrestler. Like, that made me feel really good. And I was just like, oh, like, thank you. Like, I appreciate it. But it just feels rewarding when like certain things are like going your way in life, especially within wrestling. And then like my teacher noticed that I'm doing good, so it just made me feel even better. It was awesome. I was on cloud 9 for it. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
You're
really good. I mean, I know that feeling too, because like when I started my podcast, I know that I had, some kind of, family members kind of poking fun at it, like, oh, he's doing a podcast. And now that I'm having people that I work with, friends, they're randomly messaging me like, hey, like, I'm going to check out your podcast. I see that you're interviewing wrestlers and all this kind of stuff. So it's just a really rewarding feeling when you have just random people that, just, reaching out to you because they're seeing what you're doing, and that, especially when it's something that you're doing that you have a passion for. That's just such like a great feeling. And going back to the whole like wrestling is fake thing. Yeah, like as a fan, that really pisses me off too, because like I understand that the but it's like you really are getting slammed, especially like going to a like an indie event, because it's, you know, you can hear the mat, you know, a little bit more than, you know, if you went to like a WWE event. It is so loud when they get slammed on there. And I just cannot imagine. I would get slammed once and I would be done. And these wrestlers are getting slammed 15 times a match, and I'm just like, wow, like you can't fake that. Like, and then there's plenty of times where I'll see someone pick up like a 300-pound guy, slam him on another guy. Like, that stuff's like really intense, and like people that aren't wrestling fans just don't show the appreciation and, you know, to what you all do. And it's just like you all are constantly out there putting your bodies on the line. Any match can be your last match. You never know when you can get like a serious injury too. Like, you know, wrestlers, they break bones, sprain ankles, tear.
I've definitely, I guess I don't know what I initially did to it, but it did do something to where I may have like tweaked my knee. Like, it was during practice, and you would think that, you know, you can't really hurt yourself in practice, but oh no, you can definitely hurt yourself in practice. And like, there's 2 people I know at the moment that has broken a bone within wrestling, and it's kind of funny, not necessarily, but like my friend, he broke his thumb while practicing, and my other friend ended up breaking his knuckle, so he's out of action for like a couple of months. My other friend, when he broke his thumb, he was out for a good while, like let's say maybe like 3 to 4 months. And also another person I know, they have like a fractured rib from like taking serious kicks to the chest. So I'm like, yeah, this is a really dangerous sport. You're technically, like, you would think like, because of a person doing something like this, you think like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. And you're right, we really shouldn't be doing it. But we're crazy. Like, we're crazy enough to put our bodies on the line to do something like this, you know, just, I guess, to entertain, like just to entertain people. Like, you get no bigger satisfaction than pleasing people or pleasing the crowd at the end of the day. It's no bigger satisfaction than that.
Yeah, I can imagine just the feeling of that. And like, and this is a question I have for you that I've actually never asked any of the, you know, performers that I've guested on my show. How does it feel, like, kind of like having that power where like just meeting someone, it makes their day? Like, you know, like if someone, you know, a fan comes up to you and says, hey, like, can I get a picture? Like, how does that feel knowing that, you know, just such a simple thing has such a big impact on other people?
So I've never had a problem with fans coming up to me saying, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And especially like this is one thing that I love. I love when little kids come up to me and try to take pictures with me. I believe it was maybe Tribute to the Legends where a person did come up to me and they were like, "Oh my God, like, I'm so happy to meet you." And like, I think she started tearing up a little bit, and I was like, "Oh no, please don't cry. Please don't cry." Like, I was like, "No, honey, please don't cry. Like, you don't have to cry for me." But she was like, "Oh, I'm just so happy to meet you," and whatnot. And I love when like little kids come up to me and they're like, "Oh, I really like your hair. I like your hair, so sparkly." And I'm like, "Oh, like, you're so sweet." And it's just, it tugs at my heartstrings. Like, I just love when people do come up and say like, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" Especially like the little kids, because like you can make a kid's day. Like, I met this sweet little girl at the Perry Hall High School, and her name was, I might be wrong, but it was Abby. And she came up to me and she had her hair in like not pigtails, but it was like braided back in like ponytails. And she was like, "I really like your outfit. I really like your hair." And I'm like, "Oh, you're so sweet." She's like, "I really like how the fact that like your gear is all sparkly." And I was just like, "Oh, stop it. You're so cute." And I was just like, "Oh, this makes my day." And her mom came up and she was like, she really wanted to take a picture with you. And I was just like, "Oh, please go ahead. Go ahead. I don't mind." And also, there's another person that I love. Like, she always comes to every single MCW show when she can. And her name is Brianna. And she's called Bree for short. And this is when I first started MCW. She was scared of everyone. She might be still scared of Joe Keys for some odd reason. I really don't know why. But at one birthday party, we were able to bond with each other. And since then, she's been like my best friend and whatnot. I love seeing her. She is so sweet. She is so kind. And she's just a little button. So the thing is, whenever I'm at a show and I'm there, or if I'm performing, she chooses not to leave unless I say goodbye to her. Like, she will not leave. And I'm just like, oh, you're so sweet, but your mom wants to go home. So I make sure by the time the show ends that I say goodbye to her so that her mom can leave. But
Mm-hmm.
I love taking pictures with little kids, like, or anybody in general. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it completes my day. Like, they don't even know that. It just completes my day.
Yeah, I was about to say, because like us adults too, like, you know, when we watch wrestling, it's kind of like us being a kid again. So like we get it
Mm-hmm.
to meet the wrestlers too and all. Like when I went to the WWE live event on Saturday, and I got a picture with Kevin Owens. He came, you know, down ringside, and I got a quick picture. That made my freaking day. Like, got a picture. And same thing when I came to MCW. Like, I came up to you and I asked for a picture. That really like made my day too. Like on Friday, like it just feels really good just interacting with the wrestlers. Like, you know, like adults, you know, like this is our way of like letting our inner child out and all.
Yeah, like I have no problems at all when someone comes. I was like, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" Like, go ahead. I'm not gonna say no. Like, I like taking pictures.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just like a really nice thing. And like I said, it's just like you all are role models and just having that power and just how you can influence someone's life just by doing something simple, you know, like even just like replying back on like social media, like that really makes people's day. Like some people may not realize that, like, you know, like a wrestler like liking a tweet that you send them, like I see people all the time screenshot like, oh, so and so liked my tweet, like even if it's not
Yeah.
even a WWE superstar, like I've seen them do it with Impact, women of wrestling, like people, fans get so excited over the littlest things, like so that's definitely like, you know, like a power that you all basically have, and it's good that, you know, most wrestlers use it for good.
Oh, speaking of which, since you just said Impact, I'm gonna jump like further back just for like a hot second. There is someone, she might be on Impact or she's not on Impact, but she is on WoW. She is on WoW. I would love to face Jessica Havoc.
Yes, she is. I don't know if she's on Impact anymore. I
I
haven't.
don't know anymore, but I know she's on WoW. I definitely know she's on WoW, but I'd love to face her too.
For some reason, I thought you were about to say Kira Hogan because she.
Okay, so many people have said like I would like to see you face Kara Hogan or Sahara 7. Those are the main two I usually get
Mhm.
that are like that's who I want to see you face. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I think they would
know.
be
But
really.
I'm sorry to jump all the way back.
No, that's I like that. I like when, you know, the it's kind of like all over the place. I think that makes it really fun. But but yes, Sahara, is that how you pronounce her name?
Sahara 7. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I follow her on Twitter. I've seen some of her highlights. She's really good. I think you two would have a fantastic match together. Hopefully that she comes down to MCW sometime in the future. I know
Yeah.
she's worked with them before, but I think it's been a minute.
Mhm.
So last question I have for you. What are some of your future goals in wrestling? I know you talked about some wrestlers that you wanted to wrestle. You know, where do you want to go with your career in wrestling?
Well, honestly, my goal within wrestling is to be considered one of the greats. And I'm not talking about how can I describe this in a way? Like when you think of the greats, you think of, let's say, maybe like Ric Flair, Undertaker, Triple H. And I'm not saying that I don't want to be there because I do, but I mean like I want to be like if someone's saying like who's right now one of the best women's wrestler right now. And you'll hear people say like Shayna Baszler, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to be amongst one of those people that say like, oh, who's one of the greats? And they're like this, that, and then like eventually, but they'll get to like Gia Scott, or they'll say like, oh, Gia Scott's one of the, greats. She's killing it right now. And you usually hear like people talking about different other people, like sometimes Tessa Blanchard's name will get thrown around along with like Charlotte Flair. And I want to be among them of being one of the greats of like women. getting tongue tied, of women's wrestling. Like that's what I want. That's my goal. That's what I'm striving for. And like it doesn't even stop once it gets there, because like once you get there, you have to constantly prove it, and you have to make sure like you put your stamp on it, like make sure nobody forgets it. Like
Mhm.
this is it. This is me. Like don't forget like, oh, like saying like, oh, she's great and all, but no, there's no buts. She is
Mhm.
just great.
See, I like that a lot. Like you're very motivated, and so like what you've accomplished so far. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get there. Like you just cannot let anyone tell you otherwise, and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And you're a big deal in MCW, and MCW is like kind of a pretty big deal in the independent circuit. I mean, Leo Rush, Velveteen Dream, they were in MCW before they went to NXT and WWE. Mickey James has been down, MCW. Lita, um, even like a
But
lot of legends come there for the special attractions. Booker T, Rick,
yeah.
like MCW is on the map. And honestly, if you keep doing what you're doing, if you haven't been noticed by anyone, scouts, you will eventually. Like, it's gonna happen, and just keep doing you, and you'll get there.
Oh, like I'm just excited for 2020. Like I feel it. Like I'm feeling it. It's just bigger and better things from there.
Exactly, and you'll definitely get there. Hopefully, something big happens for you in 2020. I know you got a big match coming up on
Oh yeah.
the first ever chairs match for the women in MCW.
Mhm. I'm so excited, but I'm nervous about it at the same time, because like it's putting a stamp on I guess for women at MCW, because there's never been a chairs match at all for women at MCW. So it's like we're doing something special here. Like we're trusted enough to do something like that. Like I've never heard of or seen like a chairs match for the women. Like I even gone back and watched some of the matches from MCW, and it's just like we're putting a stamp on it. So
Hmm.
I'm excited for it.
Me too. I'm definitely really excited for it too. I mean, you all are starting, to break the break glass doors and all that down. So I mean, that's a good thing that they're trusting you and being in such a big match. So, I mean, I can definitely see, this being a big year for you in 2020.
Mhm. I'm excited.
Me too. So, thank you, Gia, for joining the show today. It's been an honor interviewing you on No Face Wrestling.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. Do you have any social media you want to share with all the viewers?
So you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's the Gia Scott. And it's as simple as that.
Just simple as that. The Gia Scott. Make sure you follow her on
The Gia Scott.
Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you also look for us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and YouTube. Thank you all for watching, and thank you again, Gia, for joining us today.
Thank you.